Have you ever had that feeling of frustration when taking your Parkinson's medication and still feeling like it just isn't working as it should? That stiffness that won't let up? The tremors that seem to worsen just when you need to perform an important task? Or maybe you've noticed how some days the medications seem to work perfectly, while on others it's as if you hadn't even taken them. For those living with Parkinson's, this inconsistency in medication effectiveness isn't just frustrating, it's devastating. It turns every meal into a Russian roulette, where you never know if what you're eating will allow you to spend the next few hours with more control over your body, or if it will completely nullify the effect of the medication that should be helping you. I remember Carlos, a 68-year-old patient who came to the office completely discouraged. He followed the medication treatment to the letter, took the levodopa at the exact times, but even so, there were days when the symptoms simply wouldn't give up. The saddest thing is that Carlos had missed his grandson's birthday party, because the week before, he had such an intense tremor attack during a family lunch that he felt ashamed and preferred to isolate himself. What Carlos didn't know, and what many health professionals don't have time to explain in detail during consultations, is that some seemingly healthy and harmless fruits may be sabotaging Parkinson's treatment and dramatically intensifying symptoms. That's right. Certain foods that everyone considers part of a healthy diet can be real villains for those with Parkinson's. The most worrying thing is that doctors often generically recommend a diet rich in fruits without specifying which ones can cause dangerous interference with medication. In my 15 years working with Parkinson's patients, I've discovered that small changes in diet can make an extraordinary difference in quality of life. I'm not talking about subtle improvements, but significant transformations like being able to write more clearly again, being able to eat without spilling food, or regaining the confidence to leave the house alone. Today I'm going to share with you the 7 fruits you should stop eating immediately if you or your family member has Parkinson's. More importantly, I'll explain exactly why they are harmful and what are the safe and nutritious alternatives that can even enhance the effect of your medication. Imagine waking up every morning knowing exactly what to eat to maximize the benefits of your medication and minimize Parkinson's symptoms. This is the reality my patients have experienced when making these simple but powerful dietary changes. Before we begin, I'd like to know where you're watching from today. Please leave a comment below and feel free to ask any questions you have about the relationship between diet and Parkinson's. Before we continue with our next method, I want to extend a special invitation to you. If you or someone you love is facing the daily challenges of Parkinson's and is looking for reliable, science-based information explained in a simple way, this channel was created especially with you in mind. Here we regularly share practical strategies, exercises, and tips that have helped hundreds of people regain small and large amounts of independence in their daily lives. Click the subscribe button now. It's completely free, so you won't miss any techniques that can make a difference in your quality of life or that of your family member. Now let's continue with the first fruit that promises to bring significant complications to those with Parkinson's. First, let's talk about bananas. Among the many fruits we usually consider healthy for the elderly, bananas stand out as one of the most problematic for those with Parkinson's. But how exactly do bananas affect people with Parkinson's? Let's explore together when we talk about Parkinson's treatment. The most common medication is levodopa, usually combined with carbidopa. The problem is that bananas are extremely rich in vitamin B6, also known as pyridoxine. This vitamin, in high concentrations, can directly interfere with the conversion of levodopa to dopamine in the brain. What this means in practice is that when you consume bananas, especially ripe ones, your body absorbs large amounts of vitamin B6, which competes with the mechanism of action of levodopa, significantly decreasing its effectiveness. This is why many patients report that after eating a banana, especially at breakfast along with their medication, they feel that the medication simply did not work that day, or that its effect lasted much less time than normal. Symptoms such as tremors, stiffness, and difficulty moving can intensify considerably. But does this mean that you need to completely eliminate bananas from your diet? It is not necessarily important to understand that the problem lies in the quantity and timing of consumption. Studies show that consuming small amounts of bananas away from medication times, about 2 to 3 hours before or after, can minimize this negative interference. If you really like bananas and do not want to give up this food completely, one strategy is to consume only half a banana occasionally and always observe how your body responds. Another alternative is to replace the banana with equally nutritious fruits that do not interfere with your diet. Medications such as apples, pears, or red fruits that, in addition to not compromising treatment, also bring important antioxidant benefits to the brain. Let's now move on to the second problematic fruit, grapes and raisins. For many people, grapes are considered a healthy and convenient snack, especially raisins, which are practical to carry and consume throughout the day. However, for those with Parkinson's, this food can bring significant complications. The problem with grapes, and especially raisins, is related to their high sugar content and high glycemic index. When we consume foods with a high glycemic index, our body releases large amounts of insulin to process the sugar quickly. This insulin spike directly affects protein levels in the blood, and these proteins, in turn, compete with levodopa for transport across the blood-brain barrier. In simple terms, your Parkinson's medication has more difficulty reaching the brain where it needs to act when there are many proteins in the bloodstream. Furthermore, recent studies from Cornell University have shown that blood glucose spikes can increase oxidative stress in the brain, which is particularly harmful for people with Parkinson's, who already suffer from damage to dopamine-producing neural cells. In our treatment center, we have observed that patients who reduce their consumption of grapes and raisins report better symptom stability throughout the day and fewer motor fluctuations, those moments when a person suddenly goes from a state of good mobility to intense stiffness. An important detail is that green grapes tend to have a slightly lower glycemic index than purple grapes. But even so, they are not considered ideal for frequent consumption by Parkinson's patients. Safer alternatives include low glycemic fruits such as cherries, strawberries, and blackberries. In addition to not causing insulin spikes, they are also rich in antioxidants such as quercetin and anthocyanins, which have shown neuroprotective potential in preliminary studies. Now let's move on to the third fruit that should be avoided, avocado. Although technically a fruit, avocado is often classified by many as a vegetable. In any case, it is widely recommended in healthy diets due to its high content of good fats and vitamins. However, for those with Parkinson's, avocado consumption can be problematic for two main reasons. Avocado is extremely rich in protein compared to other fruits, and as mentioned previously, protein foods compete directly with levodopa for transport through the brain. Avocados contain high concentrations of tyramine, a compound that naturally increases blood pressure and can interact negatively with certain medications used to treat Parkinson's, especially MAO inhibitors like selegiline. When this happens, patients can experience severe hypertensive crises accompanied by intense headaches, nausea, and in extreme cases, even stroke. Maria, a 71-year-old patient I've been following for almost 5 years, discovered this interaction the hard way. After including avocado daily in her breakfast along with her medication, she began to notice that her tremors were progressively worsening, and she felt extremely dizzy and had headaches after meals. When analyzing her diet, we identified avocado as the likely culprit. After 2 weeks without consuming this food, symptoms improved considerably, and medication effectiveness returned to normal. If you love avocado and don't want to eliminate it completely, I recommend consuming small portions, no more than 1/4 of an avocado, and always at least 2 hours after taking levodopa. Interesting alternatives that provide healthy fats without interfering with medication include small portions of olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, ground chia seeds, and walnuts as an alternative to avocado protein. Before we continue with the next method, I want to pause to ask you something important. What time of day do Parkinson's symptoms most affect you or your family member's life? Is it upon waking, when stiffness seems to take over your body? Perhaps during meals, when tremors make every bite a challenge? Or is it at night, when sleep simply won't come? This question isn't just out of curiosity. Did you know that many people with Parkinson's feel that no one truly understands the invisible challenges they face daily? And you are not alone on this journey. Share your experience in the comments. You can simply copy and complete this sentence. My biggest challenge with Parkinson's is when I try. Your comment may be exactly the information someone else needs to read today to feel understood and less alone. Furthermore, your comments help us create more specific content for the real difficulties you face. Now let's continue with our fourth fruit, which can bring significant relief to many of the challenges you share. Our fourth problematic fruit is the mango. Although delicious and nutritious, the mango poses a particular challenge for people with Parkinson's due to its high soluble fiber content and vitamin B6. Like bananas, mangoes contain significant amounts of pyridoxine, vitamin B6, which can interfere with the conversion of levodopa to dopamine in the brain. What makes mangoes even more problematic is the combination of this vitamin with their high soluble fiber content. Soluble fiber, while beneficial for overall digestive health, can significantly slow the absorption of levodopa in the intestine. When this happens, the medication does not reach the optimal concentration in the blood to cross the blood-brain barrier at its peak, resulting in prolonged periods of uncontrolled symptoms, or what experts call off periods. When patients experience intense stiffness, difficulty moving, and increased tremors, it is ideal to consume fruits with lower concentrations of vitamin B6 and soluble fiber, at least during the moments close to taking the medication. A study published in the Journal of Neurology in 2021 demonstrated that patients who avoided foods rich in vitamin B6 in the 2 hours before and after taking levodopa had an increase of up to 34% in the duration of the medication's effect. This can mean more hours per day with adequate symptom control and greater independence to carry out daily activities. If you enjoy the tropical flavor of mangoes, some alternatives with a similar but less problematic nutritional profile include small portions of papaya or peaches, which offer important vitamins and minerals without compromising treatment. The fifth fruit we should discuss is passion fruit. Many people with Parkinson's suffer from anxiety, insomnia, and agitation, and often turn to passion fruit for its known calming properties. The problem is that passion fruit contains compounds that can interact with several medications used to treat Parkinson's. Passion fruit is rich in harmine and harmaline, alkaloids that act as natural inhibitors of monoamine oxidase, MAO inhibitors. These substances can interact dangerously with medications such as selegiline and rasagiline, MAO-B inhibitors frequently prescribed to patients with Parkinson's. This interaction can cause what doctors call serotonin syndrome, a potentially fatal condition characterized by mental confusion, extreme agitation, high blood pressure, and even seizures. Furthermore, passion fruit juice, especially when concentrated, can affect liver enzymes responsible for the metabolism of other Parkinson's medications, such as amantadine and some dopamine agonists, altering blood levels and potentiating side effects such as hallucinations and compulsive behaviors. Joan, a 64-year-old patient, started drinking passion fruit tea every night to help with his insomnia, a common problem in Parkinson's. In less than a week, he began experiencing severe mental confusion, hallucinations, and his blood pressure rose dangerously. When we discovered he was taking the tea along with selegiline and pramipexole, we immediately stopped consuming passion fruit, and the symptoms disappeared within a few days. Safe alternatives for those seeking calming effects include chamomile tea, which does not have significant interactions with Parkinson's medications, or relaxation techniques such as controlled breathing and guided meditation, which have been shown to be effective in improving sleep quality in patients with the disease. Our sixth fruit is pineapple. Although it is an excellent source of vitamin C and bromelain, an enzyme with anti-inflammatory properties, pineapple presents two specific problems for people with Parkinson's. First, pineapple has one of the highest glycemic indexes among fruits, causing rapid insulin spikes that, as previously explained, can impair the absorption of levodopa in the brain. Second, and perhaps most worryingly, the bromelain present in pineapple can significantly increase the effect of anticoagulant medications such as warfarin and aspirin, often prescribed to Parkinson's patients who also have cardiovascular problems. A very common condition, this interaction increases the risk of bleeding and bruising, even with minor trauma. A little-known fact is that bromelain can also alter the speed at which certain medications are eliminated from the body, potentially increasing the concentration of levodopa in the blood in an unpredictable way, which can lead to both periods of excessive symptom control with dyskinesias, involuntary movements, and periods of sudden loss of medication effect. In our treatment center, we observed that patients who regularly consume pineapple have greater variability in their response to medication, making it more difficult to precisely adjust doses and administration times. Alternatives rich in vitamin C without the problems associated with pineapple include kiwi in small portions, guava, and citrus fruits, as long as they are consumed at least 2 hours apart from the medication due to their acidity, which can interfere with the absorption of some medications. Finally, we come to the seventh and final point. Persimmon is a problematic fruit, especially when consumed unripe or not fully ripe. The tannins present in unripe persimmons can form insoluble complexes with medications, drastically reducing their absorption in the gastrointestinal tract. Patients who consume unripe persimmons often report complete medication failure within hours, as if they had not taken the medication. Even ripe persimmons contain significant levels of soluble fiber and pectin, which, as mentioned previously when talking about mangoes, can delay the absorption of levodopa. Furthermore, persimmons are one of the fruits richest in vitamin A, an important nutrient, but in excess they can interfere with the action of certain dopaminergic medications used in the treatment of Parkinson's. Preliminary studies suggest that very high levels of vitamin A may reduce the sensitivity of dopamine receptors in the brain, potentially decreasing the effectiveness of entire classes of dopamine agonist medications, such as ropinirole and pramipexole. Laura, a 73-year-old patient, loved persimmons and consumed the fruit almost daily during the season. She constantly complained that her medication seemed to work well some weeks and very poorly in others. By tracking her food consumption, we discovered that periods of poorer pain control symptoms coincided exactly with persimmon season. After eliminating this fruit from their diet, their response to medication became much more consistent and predictable. Safe alternatives that offer similar nutrients include peaches, nectarines, and ripe apricots, as long as they are consumed in small portions and away from medication times. For people with Parkinson's who want to maintain a nutritious diet without compromising the effectiveness of their treatment, it is essential to understand that it is not just about eliminating these 7 fruits from the diet, but rather knowing how to strategically organize their diet around their medication. The general rule we recommend to all our patients is to take levodopa, preferably on an empty stomach or at least 1 hour before or 2 hours after meals, especially those rich in protein and fiber. Remember, the key is not just avoiding certain fruits, but consuming them at the right time and in the right amounts to minimize interference with their medication. Some fruits that are excellent allies for people with Parkinson's include strawberries, blueberries, cherries, and apples. In addition to not significantly interfering with their medication, they also offer neuroprotective compounds that can help slow the progression of the disease. A useful resource I recommend to all my patients is to keep a food diary. Noting what you ate and how you felt in the hours that followed helps identify specific patterns in your body, as each person may respond slightly differently to certain foods. Now, I'd like to invite you to create a personalized eating plan that respects the needs of Parkinson's treatment, but is also pleasurable and nutritious. After all, eating should continue to be one of life's joys, even when we need to make some adjustments. If this video brought you any hope or useful information, I'd like to invite you to be part of our support community here on the channel. Living with Parkinson's presents unique challenges that often only those who experience them truly understand. By subscribing to the channel, you'll have access to new videos every week with specific techniques for each Parkinson's symptom, from exercises to improve balance to strategies to reduce morning stiffness. Our commitment is to bring content that truly makes a difference in your daily life, filtered and tested by experts, but explained in simple language. Many of our subscribers report that small changes learned here have transformed their independence and confidence. Subscribing is very simple. Just click the subscribe button below this video and then the bell to be notified when we publish new content. Remember, you are not alone on this journey, and every step counts. We want to follow and support your progress and celebrations. Every small victory matters, and we are here to help you achieve many of them. Thank you for being with us today, and we hope to see you in our next video. Take care.